Look at this word. How do you pronounce this word? Well, actually, there are two different ways that we can pronounce this, and it all depends on whether we are using it as a noun or a verb. So look at these two examples here. The increase in unemployment was shocking. They increased the prices by 10%. Okay, in the first example, we're using increase as a noun, so we stress the first syllable, increase. In the second example, we're using it as a verb, so we stress the second syllable, increase. They increased the prices. Now this rule is true for other words that can be both a noun and verb. So, for example, you can see an attendance record on the school app. I record my videos inside my office. Record. When it's a noun, record when it's a verb. We stress the first syllable for a noun and the second syllable for a verb. Thanks for the birthday present. Present is a noun. We stress the first syllable. And let me present you with 8 simple pronunciation rules that you never learnt at school. Yes, this is part 2 because I've already done a lesson on 8 simple pronunciation rules to speak English clearly, and also a video on 8 silent letter rules. So make sure you watch those videos after this one. You can find the links in the description. Okay, we've looked at rule number 1. For rule number 2, I want you to tell me which is the stressed syllable in these words. Collaboration, cooperation, demonstration, fiction, modernization, organization, presumption, television, vision. Now, I often hear students having problems pronouncing these words because they try to put the stress on the first or second syllable of these words. But with words that end shun or jun, we put the stress on the penultimate syllable. So not the last syllable, but the one before that. Listen again. Competition, demonstration, fiction, nation, television, vision. Okay, it doesn't matter how long the word is, the stressed syllable is the penultimate one in these words. Okay, look at this little sentence here. Are you able to put the vegetables on the table? Are you able to put the vegetables on the table? Now, with the words able and table, the able is not a suffix. A suffix is just a little bit that we add to the end of words, like shun or jun and able. Now, when it's a suffix, we pronounce it able with the schwa sound. You need to practice the schwa sound for this. That's the schwa sound. Able, able, able. So listen to the pronunciation of able in these words. Comfortable, table, able. Comfortable, doable, doable. Manageable, manageable, manageable. Presentable, presentable, and vegetable, not vegetable, but vegetable. That is such a common mistake. So remember, if a word ends with the able suffix, it's the able pronunciation at the end. Okay, now able is a suffix, jun and shun is a suffix. Another suffix is eyes, like analyze, realize. And I hear a lot of students stressing this eyes suffix in words like analyze, organize, realize. And this is wrong. As a general rule, we never stress suffixes unless you are talking about your Japanese engineer's employee. Yeah, because e's like Japanese, E like employee, and ear like engineer, those suffixes we stress. But all the rest, and there are a lot, we don't stress. So instead, it's analyze, organize, realize, monetize. Never stress the eyes suffix. Okay, just a quick reminder that you can download a summary of this lesson with all the examples and a test by clicking up there. And once you get that, you will also have access to all my past PDFs, and I will share with you all my future PDFs too. Okay, rule number 5. And you know what an adjective is, right? It's a word that describes a noun. Do you know what a compound adjective is? Well, basically it's an adjective that is composed of 2 or more words. Okay, so with that in mind, let's see if you can tell me what rule number 5 is. Here are some compound adjectives. Good looking, hard working, world famous, old fashioned, well known. That's right. With compound adjectives, we stress the second word. She's a good-looking girl. Good-looking girl. It's a world-famous restaurant. A world-famous restaurant. He's a well-known author. It's an old-fashioned tradition. Stress the second word in compound adjectives. And how important is this? Well, it's quite important if you want to be easily understood, because if you say that that person is hardworking, it's not natural, and a native speaker might just say, what? And make you repeat it, okay? And frankly, you don't want that. You want to speak clearly and be easily understood. And for that reason, where you put the stress in words and in sentences can really, really help you be clearly understood. Okay, rule number 6 really surprises me, because the most common word in the English language is the word the. I mean, I've literally just used it 4 times in that last sentence. But how many times do I get asked this question? Greg, how do you pronounce the word the? It's crazy. I mean, I'm sure you learnt this word in your first ever English class. And the answer is, there are 2 different ways to pronounce this word. It depends what the next word is. If the next word begins with a vowel sound, then the pronunciation is the, with E-E-E sound. So the elephant, the owl, the honest man, the achievement, the unbelievable experience. In these situations, the word the is pronounced the. If the next word begins with a consonant, then it's pronounced the. The table, the chair, the country, the person, the feeling. Interestingly, I'm from Yorkshire in England, and we often don't pronounce the word the at all in that part of the country. You could quite easily hear somebody saying, I went to cinema last week to watch Lion, Witch and Wardrobe. Yeah, but more about that in that video if you're interested. Okay, rule number 7 is about abbreviations. An abbreviation is where we say like 3 or 4 letters instead of the full expression. So ASAP is a common one, which means as soon as possible. I'll call you ASAP instead of I'll call you as soon as possible. Now, there are hundreds of abbreviations in English, but what you probably never learned was how to pronounce them when we're speaking. And what we normally do in English is we pronounce every letter individually and we stress the last letter. So it's ASAP, letter by letter, and we stress P. Here are some more common ones. For your information, we say FYI. FYI, I'll be out of the office tomorrow. RSVP means répondez s'il vous plaît. It's French, but we use it in English to mean a reply. So send me your RSVP tomorrow, please. I like listening to music by REM, the music group REM, and I sent her an IM and an SMS, and she still didn't reply. IM, instant message, SMS, like a text message, a short message service, it stands for, I think. But yeah, we stress the last letter. Okay, we've already looked at the most common word in English, the, which you probably learned in your first ever English lesson. In your second English lesson, you probably learned the numbers. And guess what? Most upper intermediate students still have problems with these numbers, specifically the ones between 13 and 19 and multiples of 10. Now, the crazy thing is that the pronunciation of the numbers between 13 and 19 changes depending on the situation in which we use them. Yeah, so when we're counting, we stress the first syllable. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Stress the first syllable there. When we're using these numbers within a normal sentence, we stress both syllables. She's 14 years old. 14, bam, bam, stress both syllables. She's 14 years old. She was born on the 15th of August. 15th, bam, bam. That book cost £18. 18 pounds. In a sentence, stress both syllables. And finally, if these numbers come at the end of a sentence or at the end of a phrase, we stress the last syllable. She was born in 2019. I met her when I was 18. Wow. Did you ever learn that rule? Let me know in the comments. Now, with the multiples of 10, we always stress the first syllable, and also these do not have the n sound at the end that we have with 13, 14, 15, etc. So 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Easy. Okay, I have a quiz question for you now. Look at these 4 words here. They all have GH in them, and the GH is silent in 3 of these words, but we pronounce it in 1 of them. Which word do we pronounce the GH in? Well, I'll tell you the answer in that video there, and I'll also tell you a great rule so we know when the GH is silent, and also 8 other amazing silent letter rules in English. Okay, if you want to learn English pronunciation on a more personal level with me, I have a coupon code and a link to my complete pronunciation course in the description. If you like the video, subscribe, thumbs up, blah blah blah, and I'll see you in that video next. Bye for now.